What scientific experiment would you run if money and ethics weren't an issue? Story 1. I'll do the Gilligan's Island experiment. Shipwreck 100 people with vastly different backgrounds, wealth disparity, and personalities on a remote island. See what kind of civilization grows from it. Then do it 50 more times to check the results against each other. Story 2. Genetic altering of humans. I don't currently have an issue with anyone that wants to do it on themselves. However, it would be unique to do it in an embryo or through the parent's DNA to see what we could do to advance humans. Alterations to intelligence, memory, physical attributes, gills to swim underwater, visual alterations to see the entire light spectrum, and hearing for the whole of the sound spectrum, immunity to all diseases and harmful bacteria, and ability to eat almost anything for substance. Story 3. I want to run an experiment where somebody is placed in a room with no other human interaction, no language to adapt to, or animals to hunt. I want to see what happens when humans have nothing. How will we develop without learning from others? What happens when someone is raised in absolute isolation? It's something I've always wondered about, and it's exciting to me. But of course, I'd never want it done to anybody. It's fucking inhumane. But the information could be very useful if I had no regard for humanity. Story 4. I've always wanted to try to breed a winter blooming rose. Ethics are acceptable, but the cost of having that many roses in a burning house and the decades of selective breeding most likely required to accomplish it would cost an astronomical amount, so I'm sticking with it. Story 5. I'll make 5 subjects of sane and healthy minds placed in a facility with 5 psychopaths and insane murderers. They'll have group activities in a pair of 2 from each group, and activities will be of 2 types, moral and immoral. Then I'll conduct results and see how these activities affect the subjects in both groups. Story 6. I've thought a ton about this. I would put 2 people through the same conditions their entire life now. I'm not talking just similar scenarios, but everything, from the weather inside the womb to the humans they interact with, to the wind every day, and I would see if they're the same. Essentially, if humans are born with personalities or we develop them through little things all our life, nearly the butterfly effect. This would be impossible with infinite money, but it would be cool. Story 7. I'd train gorillas in weightlifting and see how tanked they can get, then boost them with steroids along the way. After that, I'd take my army of beasts, pump them full of cocaine, and let them loose in an empty shopping mall. I want to see which stores they like and which they don't, for science and shit. Story 8. I would raise mentats, Dune style. More specifically, I would take young children and subject them to a highly demanding teaching and testing regimen. Then I would use the results to determine as early as possible which children would fare better and improve the quality of the teaching and conditioning, essentially to make their first allegiance be to the school. After a few decades, we might get a system to generate on-demand geniuses. Naturally, the best of them would lead and refine the teaching further. Story 9. I'd like to see to what degree humans could be bred for specific traits. Sheer size and strength, being small and agile. Think of the massive variety in dog breeds and then transfer that to people. It could even be attempted for crazy stuff like temperament, inclination, and instincts. Someone who's got crazy situational awareness because they come from a line of hunters whose lives are in danger at all times versus someone who was bred and raised to be a leader or something. People who grow tons of hair. Multiply them together versus people with little to none and see what they look like in 200 generations. That or do whatever's necessary to figure out teleportation and closed system ecosystems. Any weird stuff regarding relativity and time. Story 10. A legitimate eugenics experiment not rooted in racism and rooted in superior breeding humans. I'd use CRISPR and all kinds of gene doping techniques. Then, after all the poo-hooing is done, humanity will thank me for solving modern healthcare problems through genomic manipulation and ushering in the next era of human evolution. Of course, I'd also like to use the artificial wombs to mass clone, produce, and develop genetically modified embryos. I'd simultaneously pump billions into AI research so that the day-to-day responsibilities of running a society would be taken over by intelligent machines, freeing up precious time and energy that would go towards the eugenics cause. Story 11. I want a legitimate study on the effects of young and old blood being transferred to people of different ages. I've heard that young blood will reduce aging impact in older adults, and I would like to see what would happen if a senior person had a vast amount of blood and bone marrow transplant from children. Super messed up in practice, but the results could lead us to a cure for aging. Story 12. I would do the classic idea for reality TV. Take 10 straight guys, make them all stay in a house together, and tell them that there are 9 gay guys and one is straightforward. If they can vote out the straight guy, whoever is left in the house gets to split $1 million. However, if the straight guy makes it to the top 3, he gets the $1 million. The fun twist is that they're all straight and think that they're the only straight guy. So now you have 10 straight guys actively trying to act gay, probably horribly stereotypically and cliche. The more manly and homophobic the guys are, the better the results. Story 13. The dolphin echolocation experiment. I would attach a GoPro and sound record it to a dolphin's head. Then I would match what was in the view of the GoPro with the echo. This would form a map of echoes to objects. Then I would get the dolphin to retrieve objects by playing the echo sound back to them through a speaker system. I would slowly build up a language of nouns this way and see if the dolphins had verbs in their language until I could speak with the dolphins. Story 14. 21 grams experiment refers to a scientific study published in 1907 by Duncan McDougall, a physician from Haverhill, Massachusetts. McDougall hypothesized that souls have physical weight and attempted to measure the mass lost by a human when the soul departed the body. McDougall attempted to measure the mass change of 6 patients at the moment of death. One of the 6 subjects lost 3/4 of an ounce, 21.3 grams. Wikipedia. The experiment was done with poor controls and abysmal sample sizes and was only ever done once. It was written off as an attempt at a whack job to prove the existence of the soul, but no one has ever repeated it. I would like to do something with tighter controls and sample sizes in the tens of thousands instead of a measly 6. The questions may be asked reprehensible, but I believe it's worth checking. Story 15. It would be a mass experiment. Switch out a fuck ton of babies, black babies for white folks, white babies for black folk, Chinese babies for Indian parents, Mexican babies for Chinese parents, and so on. I want to disrupt cultures because you'll often find people use race as the unique identifier of culture. Story 16. I'll take newborn babies of all ethnic backgrounds and raise them in a socially and culturally deprived environment. Human contact at a certain age, even then, it will only be with other tests. The domain will consist of white walls, floors, ceilings, and leaves. Clothes will follow suit. Their education will be in math, science, etc., but nothing about history. I want them to wait to form opinions. After they reach a certain age, they'll meet each other for the first time and the education is broader, but nothing about culture or history. They are to believe that they are alone. Once this stage is complete, they'll finally learn about history in a very unbiased form. Straight facts, just what happened, and then release them into society and see what they have to say and what they can do to improve.